Dynamic Atlanta family. I'm Charles Neal, your host for today, and we want to welcome you to our latest episode of Coffee Talk. We have a good treat for you. We have Tsu-Jae Liu, who is the Dean and Roy W. Carlson Professor at UC Berkeley. Tsu-Jae, how's it going?
Morning. Doing well. Thanks, Charles, for having me.
Oh,
and
no.
Hello to the Dynamic family.
No, thank you for joining. And I know some slight computer issues going on, but we're going to trudge through this because this is exactly what we do.
Yep.
I want to talk to you, Tsu-Jae, about you've been in academia for almost your entire career over at UC, which is rare when you start looking at today's generation. Well, I won't even say today's, future generations that may bounce around from 5 to 10 years max at different jobs. You've been over there for, I'm going to loosely say decades, because we're sensitive about things unless you're not. But talk to us about why you got into engineering and how you progressed through your career in that field or in the field of engineering.
Sure. Happy to share my experience. Thank you for the opportunity. So I got into engineering because I had decided when I was a young student in college that the field of medicine was not for me. But I did want to help people. And I knew that doctors used devices designed and built by engineers to diagnose and to treat people. So I thought, okay, engineering is something that I could possibly look into. And as I took the courses in electrical engineering, I really enjoyed them. And so that's the main reason I got into engineering. But when I was getting ready to graduate, I didn't feel that I knew enough engineering to actually be a successful engineer. So that's why I chose to stay on. It was pretty easy at Stanford University at the time for students to stay on for a 5th year and earn a master's degree. So I stayed on for a 5th year, and to help support myself, I served as a teaching assistant, and I found that I enjoyed that. And at the same time, I got to know a lot of PhD students, and one of them is now my husband. And they were really excited about their research. I think because they got to invent new things and also know that their work actually had potential positive impact in society. So that attracted me to stay on for the PhD degree, and I enjoyed that. So when I was getting ready to graduate, I thought, hey, it would be nice eventually to become a professor someday, but I wanted to get some experience. So I actually did work at the Xerox Palo Alto Research Center for several years to gain experience there as an independent researcher, and also start to help supervise students at other universities like MIT, as well as at Stanford, to gain that experience. And so when the opportunity arose for me to apply for a position at UC Berkeley, I went for it. Actually, I was coerced to apply for it because I didn't think I was qualified. But fortunately, I had the opportunity to join the faculty at UC Berkeley. And I have to credit all of my colleagues and the outstanding students with whom I've worked over the past few decades there. They really have helped to shape me as a researcher, as a teacher, and as a leader. But I did take some time out, a couple of years working at an industry again, because my husband and I had started a small startup company, which was acquired. So I did go in and out of academia. But I think I went into academia because I wanted to inspire the next generation of engineering leaders. Engineers, we develop solutions that should benefit people in society. And so the measure of success of an engineer is really their impact on people in society. And I think for those of us who are blessed to be able to inspire the next generation, we can maximize our impact by educating and training as many students as possible, because then they go on and do great things. And so it's a multiplicative effect.
Did you see yourself, growing up? Obviously, I have an EE degree, so I was
Yes.
reasonably decent in math, right? And somebody asked me recently in an interview, they said, what made you get into engineering? And I said, well, around that time it was money, but yours seems to be a little different. It wasn't financially driven. But
actually, to be honest, it was partly financially driven. I knew that engineers could make a good living, so I could support myself. Right, I did want to become independent, so that was a consideration.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yes.
Nowadays, comp sci and certain other professions, dominate the salary ranges. But EE back then, that was, it was wireless and all of these different things that you could offshoot into. And so I remember looking and saying, hey, this pays the most. I'm decent in math. Let's go and see if it works. But I didn't have the wherewithal to say, all right, I'm going to keep on going. And then also, hats off to when you start talking about teaching and teaching at one of the world's, premier universities, for engineering and other. But how, that desire, that passion for teaching, was it always there, or was that something you sort of backed into?
Actually, looking back, I think it was always there. I since I was even in elementary school, I enjoyed helping other students learn material. I was I tutored friends for free. I mean, I didn't charge them. And in my parents, we went to church. So I was a Sunday school teacher starting from when I was a teenager. I just enjoyed teaching kids, young people who were, bright and motivated and eager to learn. So I always found that I derived the most satisfaction from helping other people achieve more than they imagined that they could ever accomplish. That was the most rewarding experience for me. And I think most teachers, that is a motivation, right? That keeps them going, because it's not easy being a teacher, and sometimes it's challenging to teach the students. But I think in the end, it's all very rewarding when you see what the students can accomplish ultimately after you've helped them.
Any hardships that you had early on that helped define you today, that you could look at and say, the past sort of, made it, we have a saying, iron sharpens iron, right? And so anything in the past that's made you go back and say, all right, that was just hard, or that was just an immovable object that I had to get by. And now that you're past it and you look back, it's a grounding force that also helps you with teaching as well, or any part of your life, actually.
Sure. I don't know. I of course had different challenges, but I was very much very extremely shy. Because actually English was not my first language. My parents immigrated from Taiwan, so at home we spoke Mandarin Chinese. So I do remember in, I think it was kindergarten or first grade, I ended up having to attend, I guess, English as a second language kind of a class. So I was in a class with, we would call them like remedial students. So I had that experience being in a class simply because I just didn't know the language. And also, of course, growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area at the time, 50 years ago, there were not that many Asians. So there was a lot of discrimination. So looking back, you would consider it harassment in elementary school and all through middle school and high school. But then having that experience, at least I can relate to people who might be in underrepresented minorities in our field. So that helps cultivate compassion and empathy for others' situations. So that certainly has affected the way I mentor students and the way I teach them.
So is that also what gives you the drive when you start looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah. Oh, bless you. Bless you. Yeah. Still allergy season. Yeah. Usually I take 3 sneezes as well. Yes. So absolutely. That is the reason why I think it's from my own personal experience. Looking back, I think I could have accomplished even more if I had felt a greater sense of belonging and I was included, especially in engineering. When looking back, I might have been the only female student that I recall in some of my engineering classes. Looking back, I definitely think I could have succeeded sooner, faster. But I think maybe that was the best for me to develop as a empathetic teacher and mentor. So yes, I do think that it has certainly shaped me. But I don't regret any of it. I think we all learn from challenges. If life is easy, then we actually don't develop our muscles, right? Intellectual and physical, right? So
Do
I
you
think
believe a lot?
challenges are natural part of life.
Do you believe a lot has changed from earlier in your career to now as it pertains to gender or diversity, in whether it be in academia or I'm pretty sure you have your fingers in enterprise as well. Do you see a lot of changes that have occurred,
Yeah,
or is it still no? We still have a lot of
I
work to
think
do.
yeah, there definitely has been progress. As the diversity of students and faculty and leaders in industry have become more and more like diverse in terms of their lived experiences. It's related to gender as well as race and ethnicity and other things like I don't know, marital status, sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. So I think that things have changed. We still have a ways to go, of course, because the diversity of people working in our industry in engineering is not anywhere close to the diversity of our our population in our country. Um, but I think the most important thing is to make sure that everybody who is on our team or in our class feels supported and valued and respected so that they can reach their full potential. We
Mm,
as a community will not be able to reach our full collective potential unless every single member feels that they can contribute to the best of their ability. And I think it's mutually rewarding to help others succeed. I think that's the thing. We is a cultural transformation that's still a work in progress.
yeah, we were in Boston 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and we were riding back. We were talking to these students. I think they were from Drexel, if I remember correctly, right? And I got to
Yes.
watch firsthand the passion, the energy, the desire to teach, and to not just teach. And when I say teach, I'm not thinking about engineering at that point, but it was really life lessons that you were imparting on those two. I'll call them students or young adults
Yeah.
right now, right? Um,
Yeah. Rising stars.
rising stars, right? And
Yeah.
so when you look at them and saying STEM, obviously engineering, you know, what's that? What's the advice that you would give those young adults, women, women, men, young
Mhm.
adults, call it, who want to have a career in STEM, whether in industry or in academia?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I'm always heartened to see and to meet any students who are interested in STEM, especially engineering. Sometimes E in STEM is silent. um,
Yeah.
because it's such a rewarding, it's actually a very rewarding profession, and you can really you have so many opportunities to solve problems that will benefit, humanity. Um, so I do think that looking back, there are a lot of examples of engineered devices and systems that have actually created inequities, and that's not by design. It's more like, well, we were not aware that different people might have different needs, or yeah, so the inclusive design was not really something that people cared about many years ago. But now we see that as people in society depend more and more on devices and systems, processes designed by engineers, it's going to be even more important to have a diversity of people on the engineering teams, because otherwise that's only going to exacerbate inequities in society in the future.
Yeah, I love
So,
that.
and as a student, yeah, I was also, good at math, but um, I think math is, looking back, it's I don't see any reason why everybody cannot be good at math. It's just a matter of being encouraged and supported to learn. We all learn from failures or mistakes. I mean, and some people maybe they get discouraged if they make a mistake and they don't want to try again. And so I think we should just encourage people and to learn from mistakes and not to view it as a quote failure. It's more like, okay, that's feedback, right? Failure, think of it as feedback, and learn from it. Like when we look at sports athletes, they've practiced I don't know how many hours
Yeah,
to get to perfect their craft, right? Like why wouldn't we expect that to be true of anything that we learn in life? So I think math is a fundamental skill that I think all people need to master to be very successful in life. Like if you want to manage your finances to maximize growth of your
Yeah.
equity, it's in your best interest to be good at math rather than to rely on other people and be, at risk of not being in control of your own life. So I think anybody who's telling you that you're not going to be good at math or don't even bother, they're not giving you, sound advice. You should really find people who can encourage you and support you in learning. I think that's the most important thing. Learning how to learn and to not be afraid of failure. Those are the most important skills in life. It's related to personal relationships as well as professional relationships and skills.
Now, first of all, great advice, right? I started laughing when we kept on talking math, and I'm like, well, math was really just a tip of the iceberg when you're going in for EE degree. They didn't talk about physics and chemistry and all the other topics that you had to get in on, but math was definitely one of the base layers that you have to go through to survive, let alone thrive. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you. We were when we were jumping on earlier. We were just talking about technology and the fact that even using your phone right now in the manner that you're utilizing it to say, okay, all right, I have this device now where I'm using it as a hotspot so that my computer can work and I can do all these different things because of other issues. We didn't think about that years ago. We may have thought about, okay, I mean, I was in wireless, so yes, here's a phone. Okay, now the phone is X, Y, Z, A, B, C in terms of use cases and capabilities other than just having a phone call. In fact, that may be one of the least used items on the phone itself. But
That's right.
that goes into innovation, right? And trends. And so, I wanna sort of exit out of here where, first of all, congratulations on your IEEE award. With the 2023 Founders Medal Award. Oh, sorry, 2024 Founders Medal Award. And I know it went into Moore's Law, so I'd want you to give a teaser on what's Moore's Law and what did you do there. But also, if you can tail end it with, what are the innovations that you're looking at right now, or the trends that you see that we should have our eyes out for?
Yes. So the Founders Award really recognized some contributions that I've made to the field in terms of technology innovation. So over the last few decades, we've seen an exponential pace of improvement in computing performance. So let's say every couple of years, the computational ability of the most advanced computers doubles, and this has steadily been the case for decades now. And then that's enabled by Moore's Law, which technically just says that the complexity of these microprocessors, the brains of any electronic system, is doubling every couple of years very steadily. So if the number of neurons in your brain grows, then in principle you can perform a lot more complex functions much more quickly. So that's Moore's Law. But now today, with the proliferation of information and communication technology, the Internet of Things, as well as cloud computing, has given rise to big data and lots of data with computational processing capability has given rise to artificial intelligence systems that are very capable. So the generative AI systems are just one example. And people are now realizing, okay, well, if we want to proliferate AI and have it benefit humanity in a myriad of ways, we need to think about the environmental footprint of these electronics. So the manufacturing process, and I know companies now are looking at ways to ensure that the environmental impact is net zero by the year 2040 or 2050, depending on the companies, but also the energy consumption of these microprocessors, the brains of these electronic devices. How can we improve the energy efficiency by many orders of magnitude? Today's, let's say, GPUs, the graphical processor units that are used for AI, they consume 1 kilowatt of power, and you have tens of thousands of these in a data center easily. You could have 100,000. You can do the math. It's many megawatts, tens of or 100 megawatts for a data center. That's 10 megawatts is enough to power a small city. So the carbon footprint of just computing itself is going to be an issue, not to mention the supply of electricity. How are we going to be able to power all these data centers and all these devices? So this is where innovation is needed. How can we reduce the energy consumption of these chips that have been developed over a period of 5 decades? And now we have to improve dramatically the energy efficiency by orders of magnitude. That's a tremendous challenge, probably more challenging now to continue to advance the microelectronics technology compared to past decades. So this is another reason why we need to have a greater diversity of engineers, to specifically in the semiconductor industry. And that's what I've been advocating for the last 2 or 3 years, to really set up a national network in the United States to support microelectronics education. We want to empower faculty anywhere in the country to educate students and to inspire them to pursue careers in the semiconductor industry. And we also want to empower students to be able to find their own curricular pathway, no matter what your major is, no matter what school you're at. You should have help to figure out which courses to take in order to prepare yourself to have the knowledge, skills, and abilities for a particular career that you're aiming for in the semiconductor industry. And so my efforts with regard to workforce development, in addition to the impact of my innovations, which have sustained Moore's Law for the last 15 years or so, that's what led to the recognition with the Founders Medal. And, and I'm very honored to have received it, because it wouldn't have been possible without collaboration and support from many of my colleagues at UC Berkeley.
The funny thing is that as you're going through all of that, I'm sitting there saying, wow, economics is a must, take course.
That's true.
Because, yeah. I mean, half of what you just said, our economy, we reached a tipping point where AI is now sticky in corporate and in consumer use, but it has a unintended consequence, or maybe it wasn't as unintended consequences, but maybe individuals were thinking about the power consumption, the heat that comes with it, the carbon footprint, and how that's spurring the next stage of innovation, because people aren't going to put their devices down and say, oh, we're overheating or taxing the power grid, which also has its own ramifications. How do we utilize different forms of energy, right? Wind, solar, carbon, etc.
Yes.
And so as you're going, it's going down the entire line of how many ecosystems this touches. And, to be able to be one of those individuals, and I know your humility is there, but to be able to be one of those individuals who has extended Moore's Law to the extent, because I mean, years ago they were saying, oh, have we reached the limits of, right? And obviously we haven't, because you've helped extend it out. But when you start truly thinking about how people are fabricating semiconductors based off of your work, and the fact that now you're getting a multiplier effect each iteration of, is mind-blowing, because you start to think about what are the use cases that we weren't even on the radar, because we didn't think we would be here. And so just for that, congratulations. I mean,
thank you. Well, it was actually a team effort, of course.
Yeah, a team effort. I'm there with you.
Yeah, but it's you're exactly right. The impact that we have as engineers is profound, if you think about it, if you stop to think about it. And so this is why I hope that more and more people can, actually what we really do need are the best and brightest citizens in our society to become engineers, to help build a better future for all. I truly believe that. And that's why I'm, doing what I'm doing to try to support anybody who's interested to pursue careers in engineering. So I thank you for your passion and enthusiasm in support of engineers. And I wish you and the NAMIC family all the best.
Same back at you. We wish you as well. I mean, keep on doing the great and wonderful work that you're doing, because it is impacting not just us here in America, it's a global impact. And that, when family members look back on this and they can say, I don't know what they're calling you, if they're, mom, grandma, etc., auntie, they have the ability to look at you as a person in their inner circle, and understand that you are changing the world. So we appreciate you.
Well, I'm rooting for the next generation. So
yeah. So that we'll say goodbye to everybody. I appreciate your time, Tsu-Jae. And
Very welcome. Thank you, Charles.
we will be in touch in the future because there's so much work to do out there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye.